Hello, everyone. This is Adlan Fela, Chief Analyst at Maravidis. Welcome to today's new episode of our interview series with industry leaders. It's my pleasure to have today Richard Bernhardt, Vice President, Spectrum and Industry at WISPA. Hello, Richard. How are you today?
I'm doing great. Glad to be here.
Yeah, glad to have you. So, can you remind the audience who WISPA is and what do you do there?
Sure. The acronym WISPA stands for Wireless Internet Service Providers Association, and it's kind of a little bit dated at this point because we're not only wireless. We have hundreds of ISPs who provide services heavily in rural, suburban areas across the United States. We do have some urban providers. They provide broadband signal, they provide services that go with that, and it's generally done across wireless deployments, but it includes things like fiber and Ethernet and cable even into the formula. So we believe in using the best tool for the job. And so different WISPs use different deployment methodologies.
Sorry, how many members do you have?
We have about just south of 1,000 members, and that's actually what I was just going to say. That's made up of about two-thirds operators, ISPs, and service providers, and then about a third vendors and manufacturers and service providers on the provision side.
Okay, that's why I interrupted you. So you recently had an event called WISPA America. Can you share with us what were the takeaways? How did it go?
Yeah, it went lovely. So we have two events. We have WISPA America, which we just held in April in Oklahoma City, and that event moves around the East Coast and the South year to year. We go to different places, although this was our second time in Oklahoma City. And then in October, we hold a larger event. It's usually almost as much as twice as large as WISPA America. This is WISPA Palooza, and it's always in Las Vegas, or at least that's for the past decade. That's where it's been, and it will be this coming year as well, this coming October. But we had strong showing of both manufacturers and ISPs in Oklahoma City. We had some wonderful guest speakers and keynote speakers and educational tracks. A lot of WISP events are based upon networking and working among themselves. One of the few industries where even competitors share information amongst themselves to make the industry better.
Okay. Before we dive into the specific MDU, what are some of the challenges that your members are facing today?
Yeah, as with anything in telecommunications, policy and regulatory matters and what happens in Washington matters. And there's an awful lot happening as there is on the global front and on the national front. We're all aware of all of those things that are making life a little bit complicated these days is no different in the telecommunications and broadband industry. So making sure that there's access to spectrum, making sure that there is clear routes for delivering it in places that need it, especially underserved and unserved areas of America, and working with the government on subsidy and other programs that it's offering to make sure that those are comprehensive and include WISPs and include fixed wireless operators.
Yeah. I know we haven't discussed that before, but I was curious about what's the impact of non-terrestrial networks among your members, the Starlink and others.
Yeah, so there has always been some satellite available. It's been mostly geosynchronous satellites, which have not had a lot of effect, obviously, on WISPs. I think the LEO or low Earth orbital satellites that you're referring to are or could be more impactful, depending upon their capacity and their ability to serve areas. But like everything else, competition is always a good thing. It brings in the ability to develop new methodologies and do more R&D to provide even better services. In many places, there are WISPs that can or might work with LEOs, and there's also the ability to use it for backhaul. So there's positive sides for it as well. Does it present some competition? Sure, but there's competition out there in the cable industry, in the telephony world, in independent providers, in many other places as well.
Right. Yeah, I agree with you. So one of the initiatives that's not known, I certainly wasn't aware of it, is you have an MDU initiative, and I would like to learn more about that.
Yeah, so we have so many acronyms in this industry that sometimes it's not always clear what that means. So we have groups that address multiple dwelling units. That could be apartments or condos or residential facilities that occupy more than one family or one individual at a time. So multiple units. And then there's also MTEs, which is multiple tenant enterprises. And a multiple tenant enterprise could be a strip mall. It could be a small office park, or it could be something as large as a very large complex. And so those are both areas where there's a different type of service that's provided. And we have WISPs that are very interested and focused specifically on MTEs and MDUs. And the politics of it and the availability of spectrum and access and whether or not you do a common billing spectrum, all of those things are a little bit different than when you're delivering to like a single family home. So we have initiatives that are designed to work with those sectors. We also have a working group that is very active or has been very active in the past. We're reconstituting it now to bring things more modern, but it's been very active in the past because there's some specialties that you have to focus on in those areas, like access and common wiring and over-the-top approaches to things. And as I said before, bulk billing.
Okay. So what's the roadmap for that? What can your members expect in terms of deliverables for that particular initiative?
Yeah, so on the regulatory side, we remain working with the FCC and the FTC and access points in the states to make sure that there's a fair and level playing field. The best thing is to provide for competition, to allow open access to clients and building managers that want to have broadband services in their complexes, just as anywhere in America, and for that matter, anywhere in the world, there is a huge demand for that. Many people will select their homes based upon the availability of broadband internet services. And so the roadmap is to continue to expand to cover not only new developments, which are very popular, but also to cover existing developments and to work with older buildings and redevelop buildings or redevelop sites so that they can be adequately served.
Great. Any closing remarks to finish this interview?
Sure. I just want to encourage people to take a look at WISPA if they're interested in learning more about either fixed wireless or wireless internet service providing or services to provide to those segments. We are always open to members who do services any direction within the industry, and we would encourage them to join us.
Well, thank you, Richard, for sharing your insights today. Thanks, everyone, for listening. Please don't forget to consider subscribing to the channel, liking, and sharing with your colleagues. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks.